Okay, today we're going to look at how to get racing lines and buildings into our racetracks. So I built this building myself and I'll be teaching you how to do that, and also how you add racing lines like this to your track. It's fairly simple. Okay, so a lot of people have been asking how you get how you can get buildings in to Racetrack Builder. So today I'm going to make this liquor shop in the Mojave Desert, or a town called Mojave anyway. Seen it on Reddit, had a look at the location and thought this would be a cool location for a racetrack with this long straight road. So we've already imported the terrain into Racetrack Builder, so if you don't know how to do that, have a look at the previous videos. This is the location of the shop that we'll be making. So you need to open SketchUp, add a location to your project. Crop in on that. And then we get the terrain. There's like a satellite view of the terrain. Now my modelling skills aren't brilliant, so this is just, a lot of you might be better at making stuff than I am. So we need to basically copy the size of this building and get the location spot on. So SketchUp handily gives us this man as a reference, so going back to the shop, we can see the actual building itself is not going to be much taller than an actual dude, so let's bring him out to the front. So this needs to be maybe about this high. Okay, now to add a photo text, you literally just right click on the building and click add photo texture. Then a window opens. We can see what we're trying to build. It grabs that from the geolocation that we added earlier, so it already knows the location of the texture that you want. And you want to kind of get this box to fit the square that you've made as well. That's a lot better. I think that's probably about the right scale. Now you can resize it in Racetrack Builder as well if you think it's wrong. So now we need to match the shape of the building, so we can do this fairly quickly. So we can see this roof here kind of ends a bit early, so what we'll do is grab a texture for this side of the building. Also, from this view we can see that the roof overhangs on the front slightly as well. So to get that effect, push this in like so. The other sides, you might find you can't get a street view picture of. We are okay with this side, but as you can see it's going to be quite distorted. So this is when it's really important to match the image as close as possible. So you're going to have how it shrinks when it's further away. You need to get that lined up really well at this side. And then when you take this weird shaped texture onto the perfect square here, it lines up okay. This side I think we're going to have the biggest problem with. I don't think we're going to be able to see any of it at all. Okay, so we'll make a best effort at this and just capture what we can. This bit of the roof here, this doesn't overhang, so that's fine. You can reposition the textures a little bit if you've managed to get some sky or something like that you don't want. You can make them bigger as well. So for bits like the roof here, you can either do the same thing using the texture capture, or you can just use SketchUp's default textures. However, one thing that you shouldn't use is the color section. These don't export properly for Racetrack Builder when we use an FBX file, but you can make a color that's a PNG file or a JPEG or something that's just a solid color in Photoshop, import that and use that, and that works fine. If you're lazy as well, you can always just copy and paste textures like this. You'll need to reposition. So we can't actually see what's underneath here, so we'll just give it like a wood sort of effect. So you can select wood from here. Again, SketchUp's more like a home design oriented, so you might want to put a bit more effort in and get your own textures, make them or find them online. So now we've got the basic building done, we can add some details to it. So here, for example, this door, we pull it out a little bit, push it in again, we get the frame around it. Then as you can see, this door is actually open, so we can push that right in, like so. We can give this a texture. So here it might be nice to capture more detail for these posters. So if we come back around, so you can see these actually stick off the wall a little bit as well. They've got a bit of a 3D effect to them, so we can try and mimic that. Just realised I had one key. I've made that square. So here, what's outside the building? We have a bin and a newspaper thing. I don't know what it is. Quick to make anyway. Again, this is, there's going to be fences in front of this and stuff like that. So the detail doesn't need to be fantastic. It just needs to have some small, simple geometric differences to it to make it not look like a big flat box. So we might want this section here to be made out of glass and have a reflection. So we can just right click this and click make a unique texture. Doesn't change anything, but that means we can give this part of the building different properties than the rest of it. The same with this front of this newspaper thingy here. I think it's a newspaper thing. If we make this have its own texture, we can have it reflect. Like, looks like it's maybe some glass or perspex in there, so that would reflect some light, or anything. Okay, I think we're almost done. Obviously you can spend as long as you like on this, really. The same with everything else that's been in any of the other tutorial videos that I've made. You can spend days on it, or you can spend a couple of minutes on it, but the quality of your final track or your final building will reflect how long you spent on it. So I think this is about done. To see if there's anywhere else that should maybe be a reflection. See, this is glass here, so let's make that its own texture. Okay, also there is a giant sign on top of the building, which we should probably have if we're trying to make it look realistic. So it's quite hard to judge the size of it. But what we can do is we can make it elsewhere and put it on top of the building once we're done. So again, depending on how much you care, you could just copy the one side of it, copy it over to the other. But for this case, it's different on the back, so I'll actually make it so. But yeah, you could just copy and paste that if you wanted to. Okay, I think that scale is not too bad, so I just need to put some legs in it. So once you're happy with your building, you need to make sure that you get rid of this man, unlock the terrain and delete that. So all that you've got left is your building. It's also important that you have no textures which are blank, because they won't they'll just display as black in Racetrack Builder rather than the whitish grey colour that they do in SketchUp, which you could miss it and then have a really obvious fault in your building, which you didn't realise was there. So once you've got your house, building, whatever it is, and you're happy with it, you need to export it as a 3D model. Call it whatever you want. If you're making loads for a single X pack, for example, you might want to start them all with the same prefix. Okay, so that's exported to our desktop here. So then we need to put the FBX file inside the textures folder that it generates for us. Sadly, we need to close Racetrack Builder, open Xpacker, create a new one, then we need to open the FBX file, you want it to cast a shadow in Assetto Corsa, you can leave the rest of these blank. You can add an icon if you want, it helps you find it a little bit easier, so I'll just quickly go over making one of those. use the snipping tool. Take a little picture of it. Save that. And we need to zip this to Racetrack Builder. But if you could continue to add loads and loads of buildings to the same X pack if you want, all made the same way. Makes it a lot easier because then you only have to open one X pack in Racetrack Builder rather than millions. But this is just a tutorial, so we'll zip it to Racetrack Builder and it'll make the Racetrack Builder X pack, and it gives you the file location. Accept the default and click OK. You can always check it, so do you want to overwrite it? That's so you can make sure it's saved. Close the X packer, open Racetrack Builder again. Open your project. Then open the X pack that you've just made. There we go. Then we need to add this. So this will be in the category that you named in the thing. And as you can see, it should line up perfectly with where it should go on the map. So if you think you might have made it a little bit too small or too short, you can change that by using the scale feature. So you just hold down S on the keyboard and you can shrink it or make it taller, but I think we got it pretty spot on. I'm quite happy with how that looks. So I'll just go through now how to put that into the editor for Assetto Corsa. So we want to export this. Then open the editor. Open our FBX file. We want to set the illumination of the weather to clear and the post-processing effects to neutral. So now we can see our building. Now remember, we made this section here a different texture so we could have it be reflective. You can add a reflection to it. Like so. This bit as well. If this reflection is too strong, you can play with the values a bit until you get something that you like. So another thing that you can do is make things glow as well. For example, if you had a television screen or something like that on the side of a building or whatever. So let's just use this sign as an example. And you can just give it an ambient. There's probably a better way of doing this, but that's all I figured out so far. Notice as well that it doesn't seem to be casting a shadow for some reason. So if the setting in Racetrack Builder doesn't work, you can select your building and come to the object here and click Cast Shadow. So now if you change the time of day, the shadows will move. You can even make a reflected surface have ambience as well. All sorts of settings that you can play around with until you get a result that you're happy with. So all that's left now is to try it out in game, just to make sure that it looks okay. So we can do this by saving the KM5. Putting it in our Assetto Corsa track folder. Nick the UI from someone else. Also, we need the map. And just makes it load, because otherwise it'll try and generate one itself. Okay, now we can launch Assetto Corsa. Okay, let's go and check out our building. There we go, there it is. You can, however, see the building in the reflection on the car, so that's cool. Let's take a look at a city track that I'm currently working on that has a lot of these buildings in. Okay, so this is a street track set in Edinburgh in Scotland. It actually starts out in a bit of a park area, so there's no buildings really here. And some of the buildings I got from the SketchUp 3D warehouse as well, which can be a massive time saver, especially if you're looking for like important landmark buildings. The chances are they've already been made. You can see having all the detail at the side of the track really gives a good impression of driving through a city. We even got a Greg's. For example, this is one of the buildings from the 3D warehouse. No way am I going to spend all that time to make something like this. That's going to be seen for the split second of the race. So it's I find it important to give the windows and things like this of some of the buildings the reflection, just so as you drive past them you can see like a hint of glass there. It makes it feel a bit more real. This Greg's I gave the ambient property to make the sign look like it's glowing, like it would in real life. A lot of people are requesting how to make the racing lines and stuff, and the easiest way I've found to do it, I'll show you quickly, is to use a texture on top of another road. So let me flatten this one out and you'll see what I mean. So I found a texture online of the area of a runway where planes land. Where all the rubber builds up from their tyres and stuff when they hit the runway. So I just use that and stretch it. So by overlaying this texture here, you can see that you kind of already getting that rubber build-up effect. But the road will intersect the other one slightly. You see here we're getting the edge of this road cut into this other track, so we can just delete it because we don't need the edges. And then to stretch the material out, you can do this. You can have it like two or three things if you want, or even if you've got a really long track, you might be able to string them together and save yourself some time. But just on this one corner for now, that's how it looks. let's take this into the game and see what it looks like. Let's put some trees down so we can spot where we gotta turn off a little easier. There's a lot of liquor shops in this town. Just add some quick scenery just to give you a better impression of what something might look like using these tire marks. So it's important for your racing line texture to be set to have the right shader. So in this case, you need to make sure that it's set to be alpha blend, not alpha test, because that makes it just appear like these smaller black lines here, whereas alpha test, you get the alpha blend, sorry, you get the full gradient of colour. So also you'll notice it's slightly above the track. You can use all of the tools available in Racetrack Builder to get this top road to line up neater with the tarmac and make it closer and move it down so you don't get the slightly 3D effect. But what you can also do for the rubber, lay down on the track, is give it a slight reflection if that's what you want. So you can see there's the slight variance on the track where the smooth rubber builds up. Get some pretty cool sort of blue hues. But you know, if you don't like it, just have it black. It's up to you. It's more of a stylistic decision